even more just open the door of possibilities. Sometimes the dog wags
You got it.
the tail, and sometimes the tail wags the dog.
Let's do that again.
Yeah, I got it right. Welcome to Distilled Down. I'm your host, Andy Rieger of J. Rieger & Co. My guest today is Chase McAnulty, founder of Charlie Hustle. Chase, welcome aboard.
Thanks for having me, Andy.
Yeah. So you own Charlie Hustle. You started Charlie Hustle. Let's say it that way. A lot of people in Kansas City know Charlie Hustle. For those that are less familiar, give a brief 20-second summary of what you guys do.
20 seconds. I was obsessed with the vintage t-shirts. I love the storytelling, sports, all those things. Wanted to combine it together into a fun little business. I was too short and slow to play basketball growing up, but I knew I wanted to be involved in sports somehow. So started a clothing brand, and here we are 12 years later. So in really cool collabs with people like you.
So you got to tell the brief foundation story of how you collected shirts and then how you came out with 16 shirts and what the 16th was.
Yeah, I'm glad you remember that. That's
Good stories, man.
good. That's pretty good. Yeah, I collected vintage t-shirts, whether it was a 81 Rolling Stones concert t-shirt or 85 Royals, something that, reminded us of a moment in the past. And I wanted to bring those moments back. So when we started Charlie Hustle, we launched with 16 t-shirts. They were all kind of sports inspired, some Kansas City stuff, some random stuff from whatever. We didn't know where we were going necessarily, but our 16th shirt that we launched with, October 2012, was the Casey Hart. And we knew we had something. I think we sold 27 shirts the day of launch. 14 of those were this Casey Hart. So we knew we had something that kind of put our attention behind. And again, 12 years later. And
So 12 years, wow, that's kind of weird to think about. So you started out as this idea, this almost garage sale, vintage t-shirts, sell them, get rid of them. And you've really built this into where community has become almost a pillar of your entire business. What was more or less that decision making, because it defined you guys in terms of how people started to recognize you and discover you?
well, I think early on, we pivoted towards this local focus. We didn't really have a focus early on. It was, sports and culture and those things, but the Casey Hart was really what started to identify us. It wasn't Charlie Hustle, it was the Casey Hart brand early on. So we wanted to really dig into that local vibe, and this community has such a great backing and support system. Love our teams, love where we're from, love small businesses, and you guys have seen the same support. So digging into that and running with it has been a big part of our.
And we started roughly around the same time.
Yeah.
And you were 3 years ahead of us and how we all started. And
do you think about that a lot?
But which part?
Just 3 years. I'm 3 years older, basically.
Yeah, you're like my big brother. So when starting out, though, and I go back to those, we started in 2014. And so that early phase on, the whole startup business community, social media was also young. And we all kind of like banded together. And your story goes even a little bit deeper, where I'll never forget, you proposed to your wife in the basement of the historic Rieger Hotel.
That's right.
And so
Manifesto.
So us being able to do things over time has been a lot of fun to be able to grow together, because I'll never forget when we started out doing things together. I mean, I think I was probably the only person here.
Yeah.
And you were maybe one of a few. You guys didn't have a retail shop, I don't think,
not
at that time. And just watching that growth in general of more or less the startup community, and it's how you see businesses go from zero to something over the course of a decade. But you guys have started to get into, we were talking before this, on NIL deals with the NCAA athletes, with sports teams. Sort of walk through that foray, because I know that's been a direction that you've been talking about ever since we started, that you had this vision of getting into as sort of the next level of you guys as an organization.
Yeah, that there's a lot to take there. I really wanted to be involved in the sportswear scene. My mom was really one of the first designers at Gear for Sports back in the day. So I always was going to the warehouse sale and I loved college sportswear. That's what I was into. And so, going from local and building up that local presence to ultimately trying to branch out to an 8 to 10 state region, there's a lot of time in there between and a lot of things that have to happen. And we've had a ton of luck. Obviously, the Royals run in 15 and 16, ultimately, or 14 and 15. Ultimately winning in 15. That was a great year of, really finding out who we were. I think in 14, Paul Rudd pops up on national TV. Royals are winning. I remember it was October 29th, 2014. My wife and I were sitting, we might have been at Rieger eating dinner, the old Rieger restaurant, almost in tears because we didn't know how to fulfill all these orders. And it was all because Paul Rudd is on national TV. But it was a big moment for us to try to figure it out, and a good learning experience. And then a year later, we come back around. We tried to get a tent at the Plaza Art Fair. And my wife was calling around. Lucy's doing all the big stuff anyways, just like Holly was. And they end up asking, well, how about a storefront? And so we end up having 3 weeks to put together a storefront on the Country Club Plaza. That's kind of a moment we didn't think about would happen.
So you mentioned something about luck and how in 2014, 2015, it's something that whenever people talk about us as well, I always reference the exact same time period that Kansas City was just looking for a distillery that embodied Kansas City. And it was something that someone that made a really good quality set of products so that they could call it their own. And we were hungry for it as a city because we were looking around, not just whiskey, but, clothing manufacturers, whatnot, so that we as a city could call it our own. And I always talk about the luck of the sports world of how the Royals in 2014, all of the sudden, for the first time in an entire generation, went from completely disregarded in the sports community to the most relevant thing that everybody only ever wanted to focus on. And you bring up that luck phrase. And then you talk about how Country Club Plaza came right after with luck, more or less, that they said, what about this storefront? And it totally changed the trajectory. But every time that you and I say that, people look at us and they're like, you're nuts. Like, you guys were prepared. You guys had your together. And that's why you were able to, we had our together. You didn't. You were just super lucky. But what do you really view as the true pillar of your success outside of just calling it luck? I mean, was it this preparedness? Was it a few key hires? Was it your community outreach? Was it just a complete combination of everything and you lucked out a little bit? Like, looking back over the last, 10 years, what was it that got you to sitting right here today?
Yeah. I think what I've realized is I get to play the visionary role in the company. And I think you have to have a vision. Often
you get to work on the company and not in the company.
Yes. But I think often people ask, did you ever visualize this? And I think you have to a certain extent.
Even if it seems crazy.
Yeah. Whether it's down on paper or not, in your head. I think ultimately everything comes with a vision. Now, the trajectory and things that you're talking about, how we actually got there, there's moments that you would have never dreamed of. But there is moments that you do dream of. And I think that's important. You combine that with some of the lucky moments. All businesses have these moments. And I think the better you are, the luckier you may get at times, but
the better prepared you are.
Better prepared you are. Yes. So, that's kind of our story. And I remember, you were talking about Manifesto. Ryan Maybe actually helped us, help me set up champagne and all these different things down in the basement of Rieger, to ultimately propose to my wife. But I remember him coming to you when you were in Texas at the time, right? I don't know if we got to bring that up, but
Yeah, no, I mean,
that to me was another fun, a story of fate.
again, the path is all about fate as to how we actually get somewhere.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's you and I, that's why I say it. You can script it however you want to script it to the public, and the public looks at us as prepared, shrewd business people, but you and I look at it and we joke about it because it's like, oh, it's just a bunch of dumb luck, being in the right place, looking for opportunities, being prepared to take on the opportunities.
Oh, you're pretty
and moving forward with it. Yeah, I'm an asshole.
Nah.
But only because you've told me about that. So one of the other things that's been kind of fun recently is we started several years ago in 2017. We started more or less a fun project in the wintertime of designing an annual holiday label for our Kansas City whiskey that is limited in quantity. And we started designing it in-house. And a few years in, came up with the mentality of, why don't I just call Chase and say...
And outsource all the design work.
Exactly. But there was a benefit, right? Free whiskey and a whole bunch of merch that you guys started piling onto it. We found that benefit as a whole. But from that, that's kind of led into even more just open the door of possibilities. Sometimes the dog wags...
You got it.
The tail, and sometimes the tail wags the dog.
Let's do that again.
Yeah, I got it right. So like, for example, with KU, we're both partners with the University of Kansas.
Yeah.
And, they now have been allowed to do and play with alcohol. And you guys have been doing t-shirts, various clothing items for KU for a long time. And we've been talking to them now for about 8 months on a summer release called Wave the Wheat Vodka.
Yes.
Obviously, blah, blah, right? But you guys just came out.
That's
Blah, blah. I know, it's a quick show. Like, we can't explain the whole origin of it.
Sure.
So from that, you guys, though, just came out with a Wave the Wheat shirt. And it was just super ironic that rather than us saying, hey, we want to build this label, here are the design elements, do you want to build a t-shirt off of it? It was the complete opposite of, you guys came out with this Wave the Wheat shirt. And so here we are now working together in totally different ways.
Yeah.
But again, it's all about that opportunity. And of course, you really tied my hands and you made me give you a whole bunch of free shit that, isn't normal. And so, I was willing to give it to you.
It's normal, especially for you.
Yeah, right.
But
from that standpoint, it's been fun to be able to see that now we kind of go back and forth on leading things, who's deciding something new. But the coolest part about it both, which as we've graduated to bigger companies, it's all about, at the end of the day, keeping the lights on.
Yeah.
And so it's all about, if there's an idea that only makes money for one party, it's not a good idea.
Sure.
But if two parties can come together and create more money than if we were to just do it by ourselves, it's an absolutely great type of partnership or venture. And I think that's what we're trying to go for with a lot of the things that we do. And
I think so.
It's been fun.
And to be fair, like, the Christmas bottle, the holiday bottle every year, I think we came around the second year. I hope they ask us to do that again because it was just fun. I think it's fun to say yes, and it's fun to collaborate, especially with friends. But yeah, the Wave the Wheat thing was no brainer. I think you sent me an email and with a one sentence Andy Rieger phrase, and I said, yeah.
Your email was one word. Yes.
Sure.
I've CC'd people to take care of it.
Yes.
Yeah, that was exactly how it worked. And then you were like, we're going to host these events at your place. You're going to give it to us for free. You're going to bring us a bunch of this vodka. And I was like, that's the Chase that I know.
Yeah.
That's the Chase that I love.
I negotiated this one. So.
And then I came to your house and saw the bidet. So brand new. Anyway, so we're drinking some whiskey right now. And that's kind of part of Distilled Down. Distilled Down is all about having fun, drinking with friends, learning a little bit, talking to people, and doing some really cool shit, just like what we get to do every single day in our fun industries.
Well, thanks for having me, man. Awesome.
If you like this, hit the like and subscribe button. I'm Andy Rieger, J. Rieger & Co. We'll look forward to joining you next time. Thank you to Chase McAnulty of Charlie Hustle for joining us today. We'll see you around. Cheers.
Cheers.